Hey everyone, welcome to today's masterclass. We're diving straight into Chapter 20 together. Now, to truly ace this explainer, I want you to completely stop looking at history as just a boring list of dates to memorize. Instead, we're going to look at it like a giant, unstoppable chain reaction, where one single event toppled dominoes that literally reshaped our entire world. Grab your notebooks because we're going to lock in these concepts for your board exams.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll be covering the First World War, the rise of dictators, the Second World War, the cost of conflict, and finally, India's vital role. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The First World War. The First Domino Falls, 1914 to 1918.
Okay, I want you to imagine pre-1914 Europe as a really tense, heavily armed schoolyard, right? Everyone had secretly promised to jump into a fight if their friends got into a scrap. These are your two major alliances, and examiners absolutely love testing this. On one side, we have the Triple Entente. Use the mnemonic BFR to easily remember Britain, France, and Russia. Think best friends in the ring. On the opposing side is the Triple Alliance. Remember GAI, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, like giant armies interlocked. Lock those two groups into your memory for sure.
Listen up, because this is a huge favorite for the examiners. If they ask you for the immediate cause of World War I, do not write a long paragraph about industrial competition. The specific immediate trigger was the assassination of the Austrian prince, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, on July 28, 1914. This one single gunshot created a massive, unfixable rift between Austria and Serbia, and it basically pulled all those BFR and GAI alliances into a full-blown global conflict.
So, the messy cleanup of the First World War actually guaranteed the next disaster. In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles ended the war, but it was deeply, deeply humiliating for Germany. They lost a ton of their territory and had to pay massive compensation. Imagine drawing a map of Germany and literally just erasing half of it. That's kind of what it felt like to them. This sparked widespread poverty, intense anger, and some really dangerous nationalistic pride.
Moving to Section 2. The rise of dictators. Hitler and Mussolini.
That bitter anger and economic slump we just talked about, it created a huge dark political vacuum. Over in Italy, Benito Mussolini sweeps in. He founds the National Fascist Party, and by 1925, he just dismisses the democratic government to legally assume a dictatorship. Fascism is all about intense nationalism, glorifying violence, and the utter destruction of political enemies. He banned labor strikes and used his secret police to totally crush any opposition.
Meanwhile, in Germany, Adolf Hitler is exploiting that exact same public dissatisfaction from the Versailles Treaty. Backed by wealthy industrialists, he becomes the absolute dictator, the Führer. His whole ideology was Nazism. He brainwashed the masses by declaring the German Aryan race as the best in the world, and he cruelly scapegoated Jews, communists, and socialists for all of Germany's problems. To enforce this, he banned all other political parties and used a terrifying group known as the Brown Shirts to create constant public fear.
Let's pause right here, guys. Common student mistake alert. If your exam paper asks you to define the Holocaust for 1 or 2 marks, you cannot just vaguely say Hitler killed people. You have to be specific based on your textbook. You must explicitly write that it was Hitler's mass massacres resulting in the death of 6 million Jews and over 1 crore of other civilians, using horrific methods like concentration camps and gas chambers. Precision is what gets you those marks.
Section 3. The Second World War. A global catastrophe spanning from 1939 to 1945.
The dictator's completely unchecked ambition to rule the world inevitably smashed into the next domino. But here is another massive trap alert. Do not mix up your immediate causes. World War I was triggered by an assassination, right? Well, World War II was triggered specifically by Nazi Germany attacking Poland on September 1st, 1939. Keep those two entirely distinct in your mind.
Now, you might be wondering, why didn't Britain and France just rush in immediately to help Poland out? Well, they actually secretly hoped Hitler would keep marching east and attack communist Russia instead, but Hitler was super cunning. He had sneakily signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a strict no-war agreement with Soviet Russia back in August 1939. This pact basically let Hitler attack the West without constantly checking his eastern border, at least for a little while.
Make sure to take a mental screenshot of this table right now. Knowing the Axis versus Allied powers is absolutely foundational for your board exams. On the left, we've got the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. On the right, the Allied powers, Britain, France, Russia, the United States of America, and China.
You really must be able to list these accurately if you're asked to differentiate the two rival groups. Let's quickly map out this timeline so you don't jumble your dates up. It starts in 1939 with Poland. Then, in 1941, Hitler makes a huge, fatal error. He breaks that non-aggression pact and attacks Soviet Russia. By 1942, the mighty Russian army manages to defeat German troops at Stalingrad, which really marks the beginning of Hitler's downfall. Finally, the war violently ends in 1945 when America drops atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan.
Section 4. The Cost of Conflict. The Aftermath.
This number, brilliantly though tragically, illustrates the horrific scale of what happened when those final dominoes fell. Just take a second and look at that. 4 crore 82 lakh. According to your textbook, that is the estimated number of civilians and soldiers who lost their lives in World War II. The human race narrowly survived the Nazi regime, but the sheer sacrifice was just unimaginable.
All right, let's secure those crucial board exam marks right here. The points you're looking at represent a highly weighted 6-mark question on your key answer sheet. You need to memorize these exact results of World War II. We see maximum global casualties. The League of Nations gets replaced by the United Nations Organization, with 5 permanent members. Crucially, it sparks the Cold War between the USA and Soviet Russia, starts a terrifying atomic arms race, but importantly, it weakens the European empires, which creates the perfect atmosphere for Asian and African nations to finally fight for and acquire their freedom.
Section 5. India's vital role. The unsung heroes.
This is where it gets really interesting for us. Military records prove a powerful truth. England simply would not have won these world wars without the massive cooperation, bravery, and sacrifice of the Indian Army. Specifically, we have to honor the legendary Mysore Lancers. Their extraordinary bravery, particularly in daring cavalry charges like the Battle of Haifa, is a high watermark in military history that honestly is rarely given the spotlight it deserves.
Just look at the sheer scale of India's unstoppable contribution. Millions of native Indians put on military uniforms to fight across the globe, from mainland Italy to North Africa. They received rigorous tactical training and successfully fought off the Imperial Japanese Army in the brutal Burma campaign. They literally drove back Erwin Rommel's fearsome Afrika Korps. And it wasn't just troops. India supplied massive amounts of agricultural and industrial goods too. India was literally the dividing line, protecting the East from Germany and the West.
But while Indian soldiers were fighting for freedom abroad, the fight for freedom at home reached an absolute boiling point. The war permanently changed the political map for India. In 1942, the British, who were desperate for Indian support, sent the Cripps Commission for peace talks. But the Indian National Congress rejected their half-hearted suggestions of dominion status. Instead, taking advantage of a weakened British Empire that was completely distracted by global war, Gandhi and the Congress launched the unstoppable Quit India movement on August 8, 1942.
So as you review all these connected events for your exam, leave yourself with this provocative thought. The very war that Britain dragged India into became the ultimate catalyst that helped India break free. History is a chain reaction, right? And the bravery shown on global battlefields inevitably ignited the unstoppable demand for independence at home. Master these points, remember the flow of these dominoes, and you are going to completely crush Chapter 20 on your board exams. Keep studying hard.